This is the download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Behind the scenes note for today, there is a perfect chicken sandwich currently sitting in front of me, so we're going to get through today's stories fast. Here's what you need to know for today, Tuesday, May 27th. First up, reflections from Podcast Show London. It's the week after a big industry event. Let's check out some industry reflections on conversations had at Podcast Show London. First up, Amplify Media's Stephen Goldstein gives an overview of the conference with 5 key takeaways, including YouTube's evolution from a polite observer in 2024 to a major player at podcasting events like Podcast Movement, On Air Fest, and now PSL. While video podcasting has been around since before the word podcast was solidified, Ashley Carman notes contemporary conversations around video podcasting production elsewhere at Podcast Show London have signaled a shift towards contentification of podcasting. For example, Flight Story CEO Georgie Holt and Pave Studios founder Max Cutler make a point of calling their content a show instead of a podcast. Finally, Blueberry Podcasting by Raw Voice founder Todd Cochran shared a piece detailing how podcasting can prevent video or bust narratives from freezing out new voices in the industry. While video podcasting is doing well, he points to not as celebrated data that audio podcasting is at an all-time high. This year's U.S. Infinite Dial found 70% of Americans 12 plus have listened to a podcast, and monthly reach is at 55%. Apple Podcasts revealed in London that they've had their best year ever for listeners, hours streamed, and paid subscribers. Video may be growing at a healthy pace, but it's worth remembering oral podcasting, AURAL, works better in text, I promise, is also growing. Up next, Ofcom Podcast Survey and Audio Report 2025. Analyst Adam Bowie takes a look at the new Ofcom UK Podcast Survey published last week, built from a survey conducted by Yonder for 10 days in March of this year, with a nationally representative sample of 2,368 respondents. Showing off findings like 50% of respondents have ever listened to a podcast, and 25% of respondents are regular, that's defined as weekly in this context, listeners of podcasts. Demographics are diverse, with 41% of ethnic minority groups consuming weekly in the UK. The most likely age demographic to listen to podcasts in the UK is 25 to 34, with 45%. The report also provides top 10 podcast charts based on 3 age demographics. Bowie notes that the biggest podcasts are also most appealing to younger audiences, as the Joe Rogan Experience and The Diary of a CEO are top 2 for adults 15 plus and adults 15 to 34, but plummet to 57th and 32nd place respectively when limited to just 55 plus. Next up, Spotify's Tuesday outage. According to 9 to 5 Mac and Down Detector, this Monday around 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, reports of Spotify being down spiked, with users unable to stream content, look at playlists, listen to live content, or view artist profiles. At 9:40 Eastern Standard Time in the morning, Spotify social media accounts announced the issue had been resolved. And for our final top story, Shopify tops Q1 2025 podcast ad spend in Australia. ARN's iHeart and Magellan AI have published their latest quarterly look at the top 15 brands advertising in Australian podcasts. Overall, podcast advertising grew in Q1, with March hitting the highest spend so far in the year. From Magellan AI's data tracking episodes from over 600 of Australia's top podcasts, the top 5 companies investing in podcasting in Q1 were Wise, Westpac, Entertain Group, Teladoc Health, and Shopify. As for the rest of the news, Left of Dial Media is running their inaugural Essential Listening poll, which asks the podcasting industry the 5 podcasts that have impacted them the most. Results will be tallied to create a living document representing the top 100 most influential podcasts. The deadline to submit your top 5 is this Friday, May 30th. Nomano is hosting an immersive audio podcast masterclass. That's on Thursday, June 19th at noon Eastern Standard Time Tickets are available from an Eventbrite link provided in the newsletter version of today's episode. Speaking of immersive audio, perfume brand Lolita Limpica has chosen Place to Be Media and Audion as partners for an immersive digital audio campaign. The source for this one is in French, by the way. John Wardock shares his reflections and lessons learned from 8 years of fastidiously checking Apple Podcast top charts. BBC Studios Audio has 5 new hires filling out directorial positions across different parts of the company, such as former Realm and Audible member Lydia Sharma as creative director of drama and as creative director of comedy and entertainment. And finally, Podcast Business Journal has a new interview, this time with Pave Studios founder Max Cutler. Be sure to check out the links to every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app or at soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version. The download is written and produced by myself, Brian Barletta, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis. Download us again tomorrow. I now have a sandwich to attend to.